Good morning. Thank you. I really appreciate the courtesy of giving us a private briefing earlier today. I'm so proud that we have people of your caliber in your slots on the wall. I mentioned that to Ms. Yates walking over this morning. You know, 230 years ago, I don't think James Madison ever envisioned the internet, but he struggled with this thing that we're struggling with today of the balance between public safety and personal privacy. And I look at the technology being developed, and it seems to be coming at us faster and faster. Here we have apps, we have platforms. This encryption is a very serious thing, and yet '94 was the last time we had any real legislative adjustment here. I think that was CALEA. You know, just to put that in perspective, that was when Netscape Navigator was introduced in '94. It was a long time ago. So we know this is a tough question. Ms. Yates, you obviously have already had some conversation with the industry. I understand the conversation of trying to get everybody engaged. What is your plan relative to the idea of their responsibility as individual corporations versus this idea of public safety? And how do we engage them with or without legislation?
Well, we have been engaging with the industry, and we've been having some productive conversations with individual companies and sometimes with groups in the industry. And look, the companies are not the villains here. They are responding to market demands, both to protect the privacy of their customers as well as the information security of their customers. And so that's one of the reasons why we think it's so important that we not mandate a solution across the board, but rather work with them individually, because what works for one company to be able to maintain the security of their information while giving us access when we have a court order might not work for the other. We have been having some productive discussions. We're certainly hopeful that they will continue those discussions and that perhaps they will even be more incentivized to be creative and to try to think of ways where they can still protect those really important privacy and security interests while being able to give us the information we need to protect our national security and our public safety.
Director, this process, as we're talking about here, we know how long it takes to get legislation. When you get involved in an industry that has this many dimensions to it, where you've got all these, like you said earlier today, these guys in a garage who have a new app, and there's one coming up every day, it seems. How do we catch up with that from an enforcement point of view and a interdiction perspective? I mean, this prevention is one thing that you guys are doing a great job of in the last few years. I know most of that you can't talk about, but how do you see the timing of this relative to your two responsibilities?
Yeah, Senator, I think that it's, as the Deputy Attorney General said, something that we have to work on urgently, but I also agree it is an unbelievably complicated problem. The proliferation of innovation is a wonderful thing, but it also makes it hard to work with individual players because there's a new garage every single day, and there's a big international component to this that I get, that we have to figure out how to untangle as part of this so we don't hurt American innovation. But I think the companies are run by good people. When we talk to them, they care about kids, they care about stopping terrorism, they care about the same stuff we do. It's just not their job to articulate the public safety risks here. That's our job. And so one of the reasons we're grateful for this conversation is so someone can articulate, we got a problem, and bring the people together to try and solve it. Maybe it will require legislation. Maybe no one will have the incentive to be as creative as they need to be unless you force them to. I don't know. But I do think there's an urgent need to have this conversation.
So real quick, I'm almost out of time, but this front door versus back door decryption capability, could you speak to that, Director, just a bit? And also the single key versus split key potential. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but these are the conversations you're going to be having technically with some of these developers. That in combination with how do you ever deal with the new encryption apps that would be coming, and these aren't companies, these are individuals, and they're in their garages today coming up with the next level of sophistication.
Yeah, the door metaphor throws me a little bit because, as the Deputy Attorney General said, we want people to be in a position to comply with judges' orders in the United States, which is rooted in our Constitution and part of ordered liberty, right? And so we want them, the creative people, to figure out how to comply with court orders. You should not be looking at the Director of the FBI for innovation, right? I can do many things well. I can't think well about stuff like that. I need to tell you there's a problem, and great people need to think about it well and try and solve it. I get a little bit discouraged when I hear people saying, can't be done. There's only a choice between secure and insecure. And my response to that is, really? I mean, there is no such thing as secure. There's only more secure and less secure. So my question is, with all of us working together, how could we maximize both? Is it really impossible? Is it really binary? That if you do it at all, it's all going to fall apart? I find that hard to believe. I know it was very hard in the 1990s. Got a lot of smart people out there.
Well, thank you again for what you're doing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Hatch.